Hi everyone and welcome to the Dibbly-Dobbly Podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page as well. On today's episode of the podcast, we have a look at all the buys and all the team squads from the IPL Auction for 2021. The IPL Auction is done for another year. All the teams had lots of money to spend to get the best players and best talent going around in world cricket. This year's auction wasn't the full auction, but a mini auction for 2021. In this auction, we saw the all-rounders in demand, with teams looking at that batting and bowling option for their teams. We also saw some up-and-coming Indian talent being sold at the auction, along with some of the up-and-coming talent from around the world, and some class players being sold at the auction, and teams bidding and bidding big to get their player. For many of these young players, the IPL will change their lives and be a career-defining moment, being bought for a large sum of money and becoming millionaires overnight and setting them up for life to provide for themselves and their families. Let's have a look at the stats from the IPL auction. We'll start with the teams and how much they have remaining in their budgets and their squad sizes and how many overseas players they have. The Chennai Super Kings have 2.55 remaining, Delhi Capitals 2.15 remaining, Kolkata Knight Riders 3.2 remaining, Mumbai Indians 3.65 remaining, Punjab Kings, formerly known as the Kings 11 Punjab, have 18.8 remaining, Rajasthan Royals have 13.65 remaining, the Royal Challengers Bangalore have 35 remaining, and the Sunrisers Hyderabad have 6.95 remaining in their budget. All the teams have 8 overseas players, which is the maximum number of overseas players, and pretty much all the teams have their maximum squad size, which is 25. The only two that don't are the Rajasthan Royals with 24 and the Royal Challengers Bangalore with 22. Let's have a look at the top buys in the auction. Chris Morris was the most expensive player bought at the auction. He was bought for 16.25. He surpasses Pat Cummins, who was the most expensive player in the IPL ever. He was sold for 15.5, Pat Cummins, in last year's IPL auction. Chris Morris surpasses him with 16.25 in this auction. The other top buys from the auction were Kyle Jamieson, he went for 15. Glenn Maxwell went for 14.25. Jai Richardson went for 14. Gotham went for 9.25. Riley Meredith went for 8. Moeen Ali went for 7. And Shahrukh Khan went for 5.25. So those are all the most expensive buys from this year's IPL auction, and those were the stats from the 2021 IPL auction. Let's have a look at all the teams retained, released, and the players they bought at the auction for the 2021 IPL season. Before we get started, I do apologise for my pronunciation of some of these names. Let's start with the Chennai Super Kings. Their captain is MS Dhoni. Their coach is Stephen Fleming. Last year's result in the IPL, they finished in 7th place with 6 wins and 8 losses. Not a great season for the Chennai Super Kings in 2020, but they'll be looking to do better in 2021. Let's have a look at their retained players. Dhoni, Raina, Radu, Asif, Chahar, Bravo, Duplessis, Tahir, Jagasin, Khan Sharma, Ningidi, Satna, Jadeja, Gargwad, Thakur, Sam Curran, Hazelwood and Krishnoi. Let's have a look at their release players. Jadav, Vijay, Harbhajan Singh, Chawla, Monu Singh and Shane Watson. Let's have a look at the players they bought in the auction. Gotham, Ali, Pujara, Verma, Hara and Reddy. Let's have a look at the Delhi Capitals, and their captain is Suresh Iyer. Their coach is Ricky Ponting. Their result in last year's IPL, they finished in Second place, runners-up to the Mumbai Indians in the final. A great season for the Capitals, finishing up as runners-up in 2020. Just falling short in the final against the Mumbai Indians, but they'll be looking to do better in IPL 2021. Let's have a look at their retained players. Iyer, Rahane, Mishra, Afish, Khan, Axel Patel, Harshal Patel, Ishant Sharma, Rabada, Shaw, Ravi Ashwin, Pant, Darwan, Hetmeyer, Stoinis, Ladit, Yadav, Norkia, Sams, Dubé, and Wokes. Let's have a look at their release players. Carey, Paul, Tashar, Labuschagne, Mohit Sharma, and Roy. Let's have a look at their players they bought in the auction. Tom Curran, Smith, Billings, Yadav, Ripel, Patel, Vinu, Luckman, and Siddharth. Let's have a look at the Kolkata Knight Riders. Their captain is Owen Morgan. Their coach is Brendan McCullum. Last year's result in the IPL, they finished in 5th place with 7 wins and 7 losses. The Knight Riders will be disappointed not to make the finals in IPL 2020, but they will be looking to get into the finals in 2021. Let's have a look at their retained players. Morgan, Russell, Kartik, Natakrokti, Kuldeep Yadav, Ferguson, Raina, Krishna, Rinku Singh, Warrior, Mavi, Gill, Naren, Cummins, Tripathi, Chakravarti, and Seifert. Let's have a look at their release players. Green, Gurney, Siddharth, Nak, Ladd, and Banton. Let's have a look at the players they bought in the auction. Shakib Al Hassan, Harbhajan Singh, Cutting, Nair, Negi, Iyer, Jackson, and Aurora. Let's have a look at the Mumbai Indians. Their captain is Rohit Sharma. Their coach is Mahela J. Warner. Their result in last year's IPL, they finished in 1st place and won yet another IPL title. They had 9 wins and 5 losses. A great season for the Mumbai Indians in 2020, winning yet another title, and they will be looking to go back-to-back in 2021. Let's have a look at their retained players. Rohit Sharma, Ter, Singh, Roy, Kulkarni, Hardik Pandya, Krishnan, Bumrah, Janat Yadav, Pollard, Krunal Pandya, De Kock, Chahar, Suryakumar Yadav, Bolt, Lin, Tiwari, and Mohsin Khan. Let's have a look at their release players. Prince Balwant Arad, Digvijay, Malinga, Coulter-Nile, Pattinson, Rutherford, and McLeodin. Let's have a look at the players they bought in the auction. Coulter-Nile, Milne, Chawla, Neesham, Charak, Jansen, and Arjun Tendulkar, the son of Sachin Tendulkar. Let's have a look at the Punjab Kings, formerly known as the Kings 11 Punjab. Their captain is KL Rahul. Their coach is Anil Kumble. Their result in last year's IPL, they finished in 6th place with 6 wins and 8 losses. A inconsistent season from the Kings 11 Punjab, formerly known as the Kings 11 Punjab, now known as Punjab Kings. Missing out on the finals, but a change of name and direction could bring about a great season for them in 2021. Let's have a look at their retained players. Rahul, Ashdeep Singh, Gale, Darshan, Bharat, Mandeep Singh, Agarwal, Shami, M. Ashwin, Puran, Safraz Khan, Huda, Porel, Bishnoi, Jordan, and Prabhadasham Singh. Let's have a look at their release players. Maxwell, Cottrell, Sadran, Villajan, Neesham, Gotham, Nair, Sachlin, and Tanjaya Singh Dillon. Let's have a look at the players they bought in the auction. Jai Richardson, Meredith, Shahrukh Khan, Enriques, Malan Allen, Saxena, Kumar, and Akarash Singh. Let's have a look at the Rajasthan Royals. Their captain is Sanju Samson. Their coach is Andrew McDonald. But for IPL 2021, he decided to part ways with the Royals. Kumar Sangakkara will take over as coach for the 2021 season. Their result last year in IPL, they finished in last place with 6 wins and 8 losses. Not a great season for the Royals, finishing in last place overall in 2020, but they'll be looking to put in a better performance in IPL 2021. And hopefully a change in coach could do that. Let's have a look at their retained players. Samson, Stokes, Archer, Butler, Lamore, Vora, Mayank, Tiwaria, Parag, Gopal, Uttapa, Undercat, Jaswal, Rawat, Tyagi, Miller, and Ty. Let's have a look at their released players. Smith, Akash Singh, Joshi, Rajput, Thomas, Shashank Singh, Tom Curran, and Varun Aaron. Let's have a look at the players they bought in the auction. Morris, Dubey, Chetan, Raman, Livingston, Capria, Akash Singh, and Kuldeep Yadav. Let's have a look at the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Their captain is Virat Kohli. Their coach is Simon Kadich. Last year's result in IPL, they finished in 4th place with 7 wins and 7 losses. Another frustrating season for RCB, finishing in the finals in 2020, but not getting the job done. But they will be looking to do better and get that maiden IPL title in 2021. Let's have a look at their retained players. Kohli, De Villiers, Padikkal, Siraj, Saini, Sundar, Chahal, Philippi, Parvan, Ahmed, Zampa, and Kane Richardson. Let's have a look at their release players. Morris, Dubey, Finch, Umesh Yadav, Stain, Ali, Partik Patel, Negi, Udana, and Gurkarat Mann. Let's have a look at the players they bought in the auction. Jamison, Maxwell, Christian, Baby, Padia, Azruddin, Surash, and Bharat. Let's have a look at the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Their captain is David Warner. Their coach is Trevor Bayliss. Their result from last year's IPL, they finished in 3rd place with 7 wins and 7 losses. A good season for the Sunrisers Hyderabad in 2020, making it to the finals, but couldn't go all the way. But they will be looking to go all the way in season 2021. Let's have a look at their retained players. Warner, Abhishek Sharma, Tampi, Kumar, Bairstow, Williamson, Pandey, Nabi, Rashid Khan, Sandeep Sharma, Nadeem, Goswami, Kool, Ahmed, Natarajan, Shankar, Saha, Virat Singh, Garg, Mitchell Marsh, Holder, and Samad. Let's have a look at their released players. Stanlake, Sandeep, Allen, Sanjay Yadav, and Yara. Let's have a look at the players they bought in the auction. Jadav, Sadran, and Sachlin. Those were all the team squads, retained and released players, and the players bought at the IPL auction for 2021. All the teams will hope their auction buys will put in a good performance in IPL 2021, but the proof will be in the performances from those players and the teams themselves. Well, that's the end of the innings, the close of play for this episode of the podcast. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast. And like and share our Facebook page. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.